Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you and talk to you about World War November. Now, earlier today we did a live stream and I had to bail on the live stream. And I do apologize to everybody for that. We had some work getting done at our house and the guy that was supposed to do the work wasn't supposed to show up till 2 o'clock and our live stream was at 1. So my thought was, hey, we can get probably almost an hour's worth of recording before I have to bail. And lo and behold, he came an hour early, over an hour early. And life happens. So I do apologize for that, for not being able to join in with the other co-hosts. And I apologize to my co-hosts and thank you for covering for me on the books that I was supposed to, the memoir I was supposed to present. But for the pile of possibilities, my category was history of World War I. And I have some books. Now, I'm not going to talk to any great extent because it's going to take a while to get, I don't want it to take a long time to get through them. So I'm just going to start right now. So these were books I just pulled off of my shelf dealing with World War I. Again, I'm just probably going to talk about them very, very quickly. The first book that I pulled off was The Nations at War. Now, I pulled this one off because I am a visual learner. So with all of this stuff that's going on, I love pictures. It just helps me to imagine everything. And this book is chock full of pictures. And it's like on every page, you've got various things from a narrative to chronology of the war. Here's Australian soldiers encamped before the pyramids. That's kind of cool. But anyway, this thing's chock full of pictures. I would highly recommend it. I have never read through it. I flipped through the pictures before. I have not read it yet. And some of these I have read, some of these I haven't. But this one I have not read. I may try to get through it because it doesn't look like it would actually take very long to read it. But recommend that strictly for the visual effect. And by the way, while I'm sitting here, my movie that I would recommend that I know I'm going to watch is All Quiet on the Western Front. And I know that they already mentioned this earlier in the live stream. I actually read that book earlier this year. I didn't read it. I listened to that one on audio. I've read it before, but I listened to it on audio. Absolutely awesome. I'm going to watch the late 78 or 79 version of the film. And then I would also recommend the film that came, was it this year or last year that came out on Netflix. And I agree with somebody in the comments. They had said that the All Quiet on the Western Front, that newest version that was in German, it was good except for it did not follow the book. And I totally agree. It kind of bugged me. But anyway, let's get back into these books. So hit the First World War by Hugh Strachan, however you say his name. This looks like it'll be a good one. It's, again, a visual. It's got lots of different pictures in there. You can kind of see as I flip through, but it's got a great narrative going. This is also one of those books that you see in lists of best history books of World War I. That one I have seen in there. Here's another one, Liddell Hart's History of the First World War. I have not, haven't read this one. I've got several of them that I've picked up in just over the years that I haven't got to yet. Now, I know not everybody reads big, thick books, and I wanted to mention to my co-hosts, and just didn't get a chance, but I'd like to make sure that this thing is like wide open for not just adults, but you could even get in your middle grade readers, your young adults and middle grade readers. That's who I teach, and so I had them in mind with a couple of these picks. And so True Stories of the First World War. And I have read this, and the stories are only a few pages long, and it covers a whole realm of topics. The Christmas truce, Angels at Mons, Zeppelin, the Battle of Jutland, First Day of the Somme. Just all kinds of stuff is covered in this. Pretty interesting, good for a younger reader. Excuse me. Here is All for Heaven, Hell, or Hoboken, the World War I Diary and Letters of Claire M. Fenning, Flash Ranger, Company D, 29th Engineers, and the AEF. I wanted to say I read this like several years ago. I went through and read this, and it's not a difficult read, but, you know, nice piece of, I guess that would be memoir. So here's one that I have read that I enjoyed, The Great War, 1914 to 1918 by Cyril Falls. This was good. It bounces back and forth between the Eastern Front, the Western Front, and then just war around the rest of the world. So like it focuses on places, that third category focuses on places like Africa, which doesn't always get, you know, a lot of publicity with World War I. So I like this. I actually learned quite a bit from this. It's an older book, but still good. An oldie but a goodie. Here's a history of the U-Boat War, 1914 to 1918 by Edwin A. Gray. That's a nice one for the war out at sea. Again, kind of focusing on U-boats. Kind of a specialized history there. Here is a historian that probably doesn't need an introduction. He's pretty famous. He's got some World War II stuff out. I think that actually may be his specialty. But John Toland's No Man's Land, 1918, the last year of the Great War. I picked that up for dirt cheap, but looking forward to digging into that. Here is Winston Groom, A Storm in Flanders, the Ypres Salient, 1914 to 1918, tragedy and triumph on the Western Front. Now, I've read Winston Groom before, and I enjoyed his stuff. He had a book on, was it Gettys? No, not Gettysburg, excuse me. Was it Vicksburg, I think, is the book that I read. But don't quote me on that. I think that's right. Pretty sure that's right. And then, of course, he's also the writer of Forrest Gump, and can't go wrong, Forrest Gump. But anyway, there's a history for you. Let's see. The ever-famous Barbara Tuchman's The Guns of August. Got to throw that on the list. Going to have to say it's probably good I did my own little video because I would have taken too much time. But you asked for books, so I found some books. The Last Days of Innocence, America at War, 1917 to 1918 by Marion and Susie Harris. This was a book that I'd found that looked very interesting. And I like the title of it, just The Last Days of Innocence. What a perfect way to describe, you know, World War I at the end. Here's a biography by John Perry, Sergeant York, his life and then legacy, the remarkable untold story of Sergeant Alvin C. York. I have not read this, but excuse me. But my other history teacher that I work with here at school, he uses this as a classroom, not textbook, but just an individual read that he does, and he thinks it's pretty good. He says it's a little bit drier, but goes into the life of Alvin York. Oh, let's see here. The Origins and Legacies of World War I by D.F. Fleming. That's kind of a classic. I love that cover. That's pretty awesome. The First World War by A.J.P. Taylor. I have read this one. And it's a illustrated history, so chock full of pictures as you're going through the reading. I enjoyed that one. Now, let's see here. Here's one. H.G. Wells is in the fourth year. Let's see. Oh, we mentioned in the live stream Ernst Junger's Storm of Steel, the classic memoir of World War I combat. And I recently went to the World War I museum with my students at school, and I just bought this, and so I'm really pumped. I'm definitely going to read this one. I'm pretty excited about that. Oh, let's just go ahead and get this one out of the way. This one actually goes into Peg's category, the World War I novels, and this is Ken Follett's Fall of Giants. I absolutely love this book. I thought this was great, and it all focuses around World War I, and it bounces around from different families around Europe. I think there's one American family, but all the other ones, you got like Britain, Germany, and Russia, I think, were the countries that were represented, if I remember right. Loved that book. Back to history, the Battle of Jutland, Geoffrey Bennett. So this is, it's pretty much the major naval battle of World War I. So there's a good, nice, and that's a slim volume. Here are some maybe keyhole histories, if you will. So here in the United States, one of our famous pacifists that actually served in Congress, and at the time period for women serving in Congress, that was kind of unique, Jeanette Rankin, First Lady in Congress. And this is just a biography on her. I'm not saying that it focuses solely on World War I. I just know she was one of them that voted no to go to war, which, didn't happen all that often during that time. Most of the people were voting yes. Here's another spin-off of what was happening in World War I, because we're trying to get this all-inclusive thing. We had the Russian Revolution going on. This is by Alan Moorhead. And, I'm pretty excited. I forgot I even had that book when I was digging through. Another keyhole history here. This is a Romanov fantasy, The Life at the Court of Anna Anderson by Francis Welch. Now I have read this. This one, so when the royal family was executed, of course, we got the story of Anastasia, and, DNA evidence has proven that she was dead. But there were people who, throughout, until that DNA evidence proved it, there were people who claimed to be Anastasia. And so that's what this story is all about. It's about this one lady who had that thought. Interesting history. Another little side spin off here. This one's called The Trigger, Hunting the Assassin Who Brought the World to War. And so Gavrilo Principe and Tim Butcher actually goes to Sarajevo and some of those other areas where the assassination and where the assassins were from, and he goes through the whole area, Bosnia and Serbia, and actually follows in the footsteps of Gavrilo Principe, and it's an interesting cultural history that is done in this time period, but looking back at the same time, and just talking about the differences in all those peoples and the fighting that went on and stuff. It was really good. Here's one for people who want a lot of detail. Peg and I read this in a buddy read, and that's Catastrophe, 1914, Europe Goes to War by Max Hastings. We both enjoyed this book. It was very detailed and pretty easy to get bogged down in, so, pick your poison there. Here's one that's been on my shelf that I have wanted to get to for a long, long time. I've had it forever. It's 1915, The Death of Innocence by Lynn McDonald. And, again, what a wonderful subtitle there, The Death of Innocence. It just says it all. But I've been looking forward to getting to this, focusing on the year 1915. Excuse me. All right. Peg had mentioned this in her not World War I novels, and that was Regeneration, and this is a part of that series. I had actually bought this one not that long ago, and it sounded very interesting, and I might read it now that she suggested it. And last, but certainly not the least, 100 Days, The Campaign That Ended World War I by Nick Lloyd. Of course, definitely going to be from, an American perspective here. But, getting into those last basically 3 months of the war that got everything done. I picked this up, was looking forward to it. I was going through and trying to find some World War I novels back. It's been a couple years back since I bought that, but haven't got to it. It's been on the shelf. So, BookTube, if you did not have a TBR built up, now you do. So what are you going to pick to read for World War November. Let me know down in the comments below if any of those strike your fancy, or if I at least got you thinking about World War I. So, thank you for watching. I do apologize again for having to leave the live stream. I had fully intended to be there, and life happened and had to take an early exit. But thank you for your grace on that. Hope I helped you with some books. Go check out that live stream. If you have not checked it out, go check out all of the other people's channels. Until next time, BookTube, happy reading.